Hello, welcome to Relish Crafts, where we relish in our crafts. I am Frankie Mack. Welcome to my home. Today's DIY upcycle project is going to be 3 neck accessories that I've created recently, and I just want to share them with you. I recently took my very first thrifting field trip with all of you, and on that field trip, I found one of these jewelry jars. I'd never seen one before out in the wild, and so it intrigued me once I saw it, and they let me know that it was just a bunch of broken, mismatched jewelry, and girl, it was. There was nothing interesting in there. So the very first thing that I did was to get into this jewelry jar and take out everything that's in there and just kind of look at it. And it was a little bit overwhelming at first, looking at all the different pieces and like how am I going to make this work? And I've seen things in the DIY community of like junk journals and junk jewelry. So I kind of was like thinking in that realm already. So the very first thing to kind of create some peace amongst this chaos was to separate the earrings. And I did that. I separated all the long, dangly, charm looking like earrings from everything else. That created kind of an idea. Once I saw the earrings, I'm like, oh, okay, I can work with this. And so I went on the task of creating a pattern. I just take any old fabric, okay? Any fabric that I designated for scrap design use. And I'll take either this little neck model thing here, this jewelry holder, or my mannequin. But most times when I'm creating the pattern, I'm just putting it on myself. Okay, I'm like, okay, what do I like? How do I like it? As soon as I put things on, I just love this choker look, this thick cuff look. So I was like, okay, I know I like that much, right? But this top one I made with the intention of putting it onto my website. So I couldn't go as thick as I wanted to. So I reduced the width and I'm like, okay, I like that. And then that's it. That becomes my pattern. I make it a little bit more symmetrical and just decide, okay, that's my pattern. Now, I wanted something extra below the cuff, like a bib, I guess is a name that we could call it. And I did. That part, I tried to sketch something, just anything, right? And I drew it out. And then I was able to draw that pattern onto a piece of fabric. Now, once I take that pattern that I've drawn on paper and then transferred to fabric, I'm holding it up to myself, okay? Sometimes it doesn't lay the way that I want to, and so I just start pinning and tucking different things to come up with the way that lays the way that I want it to. There's no specific science here. I'm literally just winging it. And that's why I'm always saying like, girl, I don't know what I'm doing. I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. I have an idea and I go about taking steps of like just how can I make this happen? And that's all I'm sharing here, okay, is creativity of like, how can I make this happen? Okay, well, let's start with the pattern. Okay, well, the pattern didn't really work because I'm not a one-dimensional being here, okay? So then you're holding it up and you're like, you're pinching and pleating things just like you would be draping on a dress form, okay? And I did come to a pattern, all from just freehanding, trial and error, trying it on and trying to get it to lay that I want to. So that's all that was. It came out to 4 pieces to create this thing, okay? I have this dress here. It's just a summer dress, halter top style, I think it's called, when it has the 2 neckties that go over the neck. It's just a summer dress, and I loved the boho print of the dress, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to use this fabric for my necklace project. And I added interfacing to the back of it so that I can just have some structure and stability, not too much. This is like a lightweight interfacing because I want it to lay on the neck. I don't want it to be like a frisbee, right? So I just use lightweight interfacing and I sketched out everything. And it was, you know, again, just trying it on and off, trial and error, just trying to get it to lay that I want to. So a lot of removing fabric, pinning and pleating. This was just the process that I took and that you'll take if, you know, we're working without a pattern here. One thing that I added to my necklace to give it just a little bit of structure, because the weight, I knew that the weight of all of the jewelry and embellishments was going to be too much for my thin dress fabric, right? I already had a bunch of tie interfacing from my tie project. Did you watch that? That was a lot. And I didn't want to throw it away. And, you know, when you're upcycling, all of these things become useful at some point or another. And so I just took the interfacing from one of the ties to stitch on to my necklace. And that was more than enough interfacing to provide support for all the embellishments I hand sewed. And it's a very flexible piece of fabric, okay? And thin, but it's perfect for this job. So I'm really glad that I decided to hold on to all of my tie interfacing for this project and future projects. After I created the base layer, okay, the structure of this fabric necklace, I had to think about, okay, how am I going to lay the jewelry on there? And so because I decided to utilize all of the earrings, I just kind of played with the placement. I just placed it onto the necklace itself. And I tried to be a little bit symmetrical. I used matching sets first, okay? That's how I laid it out onto my necklace to create a little bit of symmetry. I placed them opposite of each other as much as I could until I ran out of matching ones. And then after that, I took some single ones, single pieces, and just placed them randomly on my necklace, okay? And I hand stitched everything. I don't trust that hot glue will hold, but it's something that you can use. If you don't want to sew it on, you can hot glue it. It's just that because I'm going to put it up on my website, I feel better about hand sewing everything. But that is an option for you. You can hot glue anything and everything that you want. I mean, you're making it, it's your decision. But I decided to hand stitch everything, and because they were little earrings, it had plenty of anchor points for me to do that. And so after I put on all of the little matching ones and was okay with their placement, I then went in with some single items that were just by themselves, missing a pair, and placed them in different areas because I wanted to have a lot of items on my necklace. Once I was done with all my random single earrings and charms, I also went in with some beads. I have been collecting random little beads that I harvested from clothing and purses. Now, this caftan here was embellished with beads, and it was lovely. But you know when you go to thread your needle, like you thread it in one way and you fold it and tie a knot, and now you have like two threads that you're going to sew with? This caftan dress was embellished with a single thread, not even two, just single. And it was a lot of weight because it went from top to bottom. Very lovely. But as soon as that one thread popped, I mean, everything was just falling off of it constantly. And I could have stopped the bleeding, essentially, but it was already missing so many, you know, and it was random spots. So I just went through the painstaking process of harvesting all of the beads. And I just sat there and removed them all into a dish. And then after I did that, I separated all the beads and bagged them up by design, right? So they're all matching in their little Ziploc baggies for me to use. That took a long time, but they were falling off already, you know? So I just thought, well, I'm gonna upcycle these beads, and it takes time. And maybe it could be meditative for you. You might like it. I don't know. And I had this little purse here that also had some beads on it. And I harvested from that. I mean, it has a lovely pattern on it. I got this purse for the intention of upcycling it for materials, okay? So I took the beads off of it and I also separated them by design and bagged them up. And so I had beads available to me, and I used some on my neck piece here. I used the little metal coins and little silver beads. I think it looks wonderful. I could have kept going, but I slowed myself down and I stopped because it was getting heavy. I haven't weighed it actually, and I just didn't want it to get too heavy, you know. But girl, your project, your rules, you can go as much and above and beyond as you want. Now, once I was done embellishing the heck out of this thing, I had to decide, like, how was I going to close it up, right? And I decided to use the ties from the dress. Since the fabric matched the body of my project, I just decided to use the ties from the dress. Like, this neck piece is upcycled from this dress and it made sense. So I went ahead, anchored them on. I sewed them on by hand. This was a combination of machine sewing and hand sewing, but mostly hand sewing. And so I got the ties on there and decided on a fabric to line the backing of it. It's not something you're going to see, so I just utilized a different fabric for the back of it, as I really like this dress and I want to use it for other projects. So I just went with some scrap fabric that I had just to line the back of it, and I think it came out lovely. It's wonderful. It's not like a hard shape, right? You can manipulate it because it's fabric, so it's easy to pack essentially because of that. But it's a large statement piece, and I love junk boho jewelry piece, but a very neat statement piece, and it's in the style that I like. It's like a neck cuff, and it still has something below it. I just love that shape for my boho neckwear. And I styled it up for you in a couple ways just so that you could see it on. I'm very happy with it. It's made to my liking, but hey, whatever pattern you create, you can embellish to your heart's content. Maybe you already have a bunch of broken jewelry, or you're thinking about buying a jewelry jar. This is just how I decided to use it. And girl, there's still so much left, like beaded necklaces. So I've got beads for days. So I'm going to be making more of these accessories, and I hope you don't mind because I am having a really good time making them. Now, the second piece that I'm going to share with you is this neck cuff. This one I made for myself, not to put it up on my website, right? I made it for myself because I wanted a very large neck cuff from like top to bottom of my neck width. And girl, I did that with this piece. Now I have this fabric that I just love. It is very heavy stuff. I love the design on it. I love the colors. Like this color palette, I could live in it. I love just this color palette is my favorite. I love it so much. It's very heavy, so I don't know if it's like an upholstery fabric, but I'm very stingy with it because I'm just holding on to it for as long as I can, really. But I knew that my neck cuff, I wanted it made out of this fabric. So again, I just cut out a piece of fabric to sketch out my idea. And I really liked a very long rectangular shape. And that's what I went with. When I was removing the beads from this bag and from this dress, I noticed that the beads were placed on top of the print. And I mean, like these little colorful dots on the purse had a bead on it. So they were tracing the print with beads. I didn't know how I was going to embellish my neck cuff. But once I saw that, I was like, I wonder if I just trace the image on this fabric, if that'll look nice, if that'll work. Because I was just going to put beads on it, okay? I was just going to like embellish it. I really liked that idea. So I just took the beads, the majority that came from this caftan, which were, the majority of them were glass beads, which makes it very shiny. And I adore it. I love it. It took me a while to stitch them on, but I think it's worth it. It's so beautiful. I went ahead and added some interfacing to the back of it because it's such an embroidered piece of fabric that I just wanted to protect that. And so I just added some lightweight interfacing onto it. I took my time beading it and tracing the design out. First I traced it and then I was like, well, what if I filled it in? And then I went further and I started filling it in. And then once that was done, I just decided on a backing of fabric. And I used like this satin ribbon that I knew would feel nice against the skin. And that's what I did. I added a little jewelry chain closure to it. I got a little set off of Amazon and it was like a bronze color little chain. They're like little alligator metal clips that you just clamp onto the piece of fabric or your project. And that's it. That becomes your closure. There's one with just chain and one with a little lobster hook, and that's your jewelry piece created. I'll link whatever I can down in my description box in case you want to order your own supplies and give it a shot. I've worn this cuff a few times because I was just so excited to have created it. It's to my liking. It's thick, it's big, it's a lot, but it's made to my liking and standards. And when you make yours, you'll make yours as thick or as thin as you want. But I hope you'll give it a chance because it is a good idea. Making something yourself with your own two hands and your love and excitement, it just makes it that much more special. Like, I want to wear it all the time. I favor it greatly because of that. And I know that you can do it. And not only do I know you could do it, I know you could do it better than me, period. Now this last one. Girl, I know it's not for everybody. I know that. I can already hear you like, girl, what is this? I was just having fun. I was having a good time when I was styling up my tie creation, my tie cape jacket, whatever you want to call it. Girl, I don't know what it is. And I was dressing it up with some stuff that I had made, and it had like this cute little bonnet creature on it. And it was very much, I don't know, it was very whimsical. I'm very much noticing the clown core aesthetic out there, okay? I see people with ruffles around their neck. It was very fresh in my mind, and I was like, how can I make one of those? I found one of these little tutus that is definitely made for a baby. This was very easy to create because all I did was remove the seams that held the tutu together. And girl, because it's for a baby, it feels divine. It's very lovely and luxurious and soft. And I just added some ties to it. You know, you just sew some ties to each side of it. And I was just having fun, and I'm just sharing it with you because, you know, there's costumes, there's events. Some people like whimsical things. It's just an idea, okay? Please, it's just an idea. I just tried it on for you and styled it up. It's something that I'm gonna have around probably just for style up purposes or costuming. You never know, you know, there might be an interesting Shakespearean tea party that you're going to, and girl, you're gonna need one. And you learned it here. You're welcome. When I do my larger upcycle projects, I'm able to just kind of film myself as I go. They take a long time to complete. And so it makes sense for me to just kind of film myself throughout the day when I'm upcycling something major, like a jacket, pair of pants, anything like that. These were smaller projects in that the majority of it was just kind of hand sewing. You know, I don't want to just play a time lapse of me hand sewing things onto something. And so I just bundled these 3 things up for you and shared them with you and just kind of showed my steps. It really is just winging it. It's just an idea that I'm sharing with you and to inspire thought. If anything, I hope I can sign your permission slip to do whatever you want, girl, with whatever you got, okay? I love all the beautiful things that are out there that exist, that are made in a very boho, whimsical style. But I also know that a lot of the things that I love cost in the hundreds and thousands of dollars, you know. They're just exotic, beautiful things from around the world. And I'm not saying they're not worth that, absolutely. It's just I'm not able to acquire those things right now for myself. And so I just decided to make things. I find these things beautiful, and I am just trying to get the aesthetic that I love through my DIY. I'm upcycling for that reason. You know, there's all these beautiful statement boho things, and I want to encourage you or give you inspiration or just help you with some ideas. Maybe something you see that I do will trigger something for you, and you'll give it a shot. Okay, style is for everyone. We should all have beautiful things. That's why I decided to do this. I just wanted to have some of these beautiful things, and I just decided to make them for myself. And I was shocked when they would actually come out well. And I'm just telling you, girl, you could do it. You can do it. You can do this. You can make those beautiful things for your wardrobe, for yourself, you know. I hope you agree that these are pretty cool. I understand that the third one might get some negative remarks, but you know what? I think it's fun. It's sweet. It's whimsical. And, you know, there's so many different possibilities out there. I'm just sharing the ideas with you. I just wanted to update you guys also that I have finally taken the time to update my website with a lot of my recent upcycle projects. And I also decided to add some thrifted finds in there. So if you're interested, please go visit my website at www.relishcrafts.com. And I'll link all that in the description box for you too. And for the first time ever here on Relish Crafts, I get to say thank you to my first ever channel members. I am so grateful for you guys because you have set in motion something very important for me. And I pray and ask the universe to give you all the good karma for it, because what you've given to me beyond your monetary value that you've so kindly granted me, you've given me something bigger. It's this greater sense of validation that this is possible, that I can do so much more. And I want to thank you so much for getting those wheels in motion for me and my art. I thank you, my art thanks you, my heart thanks you. Thank you, Style Sisters. Thank you guys for doing this for me. I can't tell you how I danced of joy when I saw your names pop up. Thank you so much. For my next video, I'll be doing a style up of all my, well, some of my thrifted finds, because sometimes I style one thing up so many times that it takes quite a bit of time. So I'll be styling up some of my thrifted finds, one of which is this incredibly gorgeous caftan that I just had to wear for you today because, oh, it's divine. I love it so much. So you'll probably see it in that video. So my next video will be my style up. I hope you'll come and visit me then and have some dress up fun with me. I'm thinking about making this into a DIY where I open it up and make it more of like a coat or something. I'm not too sure, but I thank you for spending time with me. I'm so grateful for all of you Style Sisters. I truly have been looking for you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And until my next video, I'll see you next time. Bye.